I think it's safe to assume that in the next chapter for 100 Years Quest, we're going to be experiencing a lot of bigger events to happen. Because one, it's chapter 50, and from what I've read online, we're going to be getting a color spread, which is going to be really cool. But also, as the last chapter left off, we have the White Witch, who I'm hoping we get an actual name for her soon. But she now has all the orbs taken out of their respective like little churches, and she's saying that she can like essentially like defeat Alderaan, like dominate him and take him over, and she'll saying like he'll fall and the five cities on him will like crumble away. I don't think that in the idea that he'll just die. I don't know. I've seen some weird translations going over that, making it seem like, oh, Alderaan's power will be sealed, he'll fall and he'll be defeated. I see it more of like, oh, she can dominate him now. He who he was is no longer going to be there. That idea is that he's defeated. That personality is sealed because she's going to be taking control of him. And we know that she wants the Dragon God's power in order to defeat the other ones. She's going for, like we saw with Merc, she was going with him, but they ended up defeating him, and now she had to go to someone else. And why I like the idea more with Alderaan is where I see things going. Because once she ends up taking control, I can see her making Alderaan her main base. Kind of like this big moving fortress of a dragon. And the cities, I can see, that one, like the cities getting broken off, I see that as a believable thing. Whether it's like straight, like they get smacked off by Alderaan once in control, or if one of the theories I've seen is true, if this version of Alderaan is actually like a husk, and the real one is like deeper within it, like almost like a guy in a mech suit. That's a stranger theory, but I'm not opposed to it. I still prefer him just being this massive dragon, but as it were, I like the idea of the White Witch pretty much just like bringing in her base, either manipulating the wood that makes up Alderaan's body into having like a new base, or straight like kind of like summoning it in, kind of like what happened with the Quincy in Bleach during the last arc. But the one thing that I really like the idea of is if Nebel doesn't end up getting kind of like going to the main crew, because he's not dead. We know his guild ditched him, so I don't see why he would end up going back to Diablos. I mean, obviously he doesn't know they ditched him on purpose. I think he can put two and two together after this when he's like, oh yeah, crap, I'm alone. But from that, like, I like the idea, because he's at 0 magic right now, that the White Witch can just take him over like that. I don't know if you read. I'm not very good at snapping. She ends up taking him over, and then you kind of see this idea of her making her HQ like around that tree, and not like, oh, just like a big castle. I like the idea of there being like towers and citadels like extending off of the entire tree. Like you made all these more wicked kind of buildings, like almost like parasites on it. I think that would look really cool. But also with Nebel, because her whole theme, like with the White Witch is, white, this white voided out nothingness, oblivion, is you had Nebel controlled, and then like, he just made spider webs everywhere. And then I just imagine, all these very creepy looking, almost like religious church-like towers coming off of the tree and Alderaan's back, because that hasn't really been mentioned. They haven't talked about this absurdly big tree before. We don't even know if it's like related to the Sirius Island tree. Maybe they're from the same branch of trees. Anyway, jokes aside, let's imagining like all these spider webs like flailing in the wind, just drifting along. It would look really creepy, yet really cool. Just a really nice aesthetic with her, whole layout design. But from that, we can kind of see the first kind of portion with Mercphobia and with Alderaan differently. And it not just as, oh yeah, they're different kind of like story pieces, but more of, with the first one, it was more about, oh, we're getting back in the swing of things with the series. The series has been on break for a bit, and now we're getting back in. We've got all these new faces. Eleftheria, we got the White Witch, we got Diablos, we got the Dragon Gods. And that was what, to me, more of what that whole portion was about. We get to see a lot of cool stuff, but I still consider that whole first part to be more of, like I said, establishment. Whereas with Alderaan's, it's more, from what we've seen, more about characters showing off what they've done in the last year. More of displaying, these are the skills that we've picked up. These are what, our characters have been have been pushing, and not only that, you start to see more like really nice character ones, like with Wendy when she was like acknowledging her own weakness and upset that she was not as strong as she thought she was. But from that, I don't see them defeating Alderaan in this upcoming battle. I could be wrong, but you know, I mean, that just comes with the territory of doing theories. But I can see it more of they end up trying to go against Alderaan. They can't, because this is going to be like a fully powered dragon god on top of everything else that she's going to do. And we don't even know if the White Witch is going to bring in Rebellious, because we haven't seen anything about them yet. We don't know if like her inner circles are going to be brand new characters, or if they're going to be controlled older characters, or how exactly her whole personal faction is going to be. But with Alderaan, I see it more of they try and fight him, they can't. They're going to have to pull out, move to another dragon god, and figure out something to come back to it. Because it would be very strange if Alderaan got, dominated and then they just beat him shortly after. Especially because we don't really have them strong enough to be able to contend with them. We know that Natsu specifically will eventually be able to contend with these dragon gods because, he's going to eventually fight Ignia. But at the moment, no. And personally, I think that maybe you can use the fact that Alderaan can hear into people's minds and hearts to maybe build up something that will end up kind of like going down Natsu's stronger line. Because like when you had some stuff like in this arc, this whole like part of the overall 100 Years Quest saga, it was more like about establishing characters and their new stuff. Like I said, Stardust mix for Lucy, or just new swords. Gray, unfortunately, getting a new form, but his was more about like his convictions, like his stuff about Juvia, and we did get to see him just using demon slaying power, which was really cool. But I'm hoping for a more progressed form, something with like a horn with icicles on it. And then you had like Natsu with the Beta Heaven, which it was nicely establishing up stuff for later, because then you could have this whole thing kind of like built into the story before anything big happens. And I know people liked Wraith. I liked Wraith, but he came out of nowhere and he was a minor character, and those are the ones that you want to have stuff like that kind of like revealed and established on, not against a bigger character, someone like the White Witch. But maybe when Alderaan, with his whole heart and mind hearing thing, can reveal something about because there's still the theory that Natsu and Lucy are linked with living magic, and this whole Etheria stuff still going on. And maybe that will eventually lead into, them getting stronger. Maybe Selene will be like a much more kind dragon, because like Mercephobia was more of like a dragon trying to redeem himself. Ignia is more like a very independent Alderaan we don't know anything about. Maybe Selene or Viernes will be like, oh no, I'm perfectly okay with you guys. Maybe we'll want to train. Maybe we'll get some cool like gladiator style dragon that will force them to become more powerful. Who knows? Maybe Ignia's next, and that will be the thing. Where he's just like, I'm going to make you become more powerful before I send you to go to the next dragon god, and then you get more powerful fighting them, and then eventually we'll fight. I don't know. That whole stuff is, something you could speculate, but nothing for sure at the moment. Outside of that, and other than that, I really appreciate you comment below. Thumbs up the video, friend the like button, subscribe button. I'm hoping for some form of very spooky HQ built on the back of Alderaan, like just completely controlled by the White Witch. I'm hoping spiderwebs on it. Think about it, it'd be so awesome. But other than that, below, thumbs up the video, friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.